Hello everybody, Mobius1 here, bringing you another Star Wars Unlimited video. In this one, I'm going to do something a little bit different. With the recent release of A Lawless Time, Star Wars Unlimited 7th set, and the rotation of the standard or premiere format, the game has seen quite an influx of new players, not only, I guess, around the world, but also at my local game store specifically. And I've been getting a lot of questions from people who not only are just starting Star Wars Unlimited, but also starting trading card games in general. A lot of people are getting into Star Wars Unlimited because they're Star Wars fans, not necessarily trading card game fans, and they hear all this hype, I guess, about the new game or the new set. So they're trying it out, and they've got very little, if any, experience with trading card games prior. So I figured what I do in this video is just kind of go through my routine or my technique for how I build a deck in Star Wars Unlimited, talk about some of the guidelines and things that you'd want to keep in mind when doing so, and yeah, just kind of show you guys how I do things. Now, full disclosure, I am by no means like a professional player of Star Wars Unlimited or anything like that. I mean, I am a judge, but I have not competed in like a regional qualifier or the Galactic Championship last year or anything like that. So I'm sure there will be people in the comments who tell me that I'm doing something or something I'm doing is wrong or there's a better way to do it. So 100%, if you're somebody who's got that sort of experience and you want to correct me, you can actually the heck out of me in the comments, and the rest of the world can go and view those and read that and be better for it. And also, I am not using a script for this video, so you may hear a little bit of double speak or stumbling over a couple of words here and there. We'll see how this goes. But yeah, so how are we going to do this? Well, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to SWUDB.com. A link to that will be in the video description. This is a cool website that has not only a database of all of the cards, but also allows you to register an account for free. And then once you have an account, you can go up here to the top left and click My Decks. And wouldn't you know, here is an entire list of decks that I've already made. I don't know if there's a limit, but I have a lot of decks on here, and I have not reached a limit yet. So yeah, you can do decks for any of the formats. Well, currently, right now, you can do Premier, Trilogy, and Twin Suns. We're just going to be doing Premiere in this video. The rest of these, I mean, once you know how to do one way, you can pretty much figure out the other ways, even though Trilogy does have unique deck building rules. Not in the scope of this video. So we're going to go ahead and click New Deck in Premiere. I think by default, I don't actually know if when you create a new account, if you click this gear icon, there's a little checkbox here that says Limit to Legal. So when this is on, it's supposed to filter out cards that are not legal in Premiere. Now, I know for a fact that there are some of them, at the moment of me recording this video, there are some of them that are still showing up when they shouldn't be. For example, here's Boba Fett from Spark of Rebellion. This leader, not only is it not currently legal in Premiere, it wasn't even legal for like the past 4 sets. So yeah, this should not be here. So you do want to be a little careful. I understand if you're new to the game, you would not know that this Boba Fett leader is not legal. But yeah, I'm sure at some point that will be fixed. Just be aware that at the moment it's not working 100%. But I would recommend that unless you're specifically looking to play Eternal or Twin Suns, make sure that you click this gear icon and make sure this is set Limit to Legal, just so you're not building a not legal Premiere deck. All right, that being said, which leader to pick? Like I said, I'm doing this without a script, so I probably should have picked something ahead of time to at least know what I'm going to be building off of. All right, I mean, I know. Let's just go with something easy. Let's go with sure, let's go with Kanan and Jarrus. So I do want to pick a leader that has a little bit of synergy with something. Kanan and Jarrus or Grand Admiral Thrawn? No, we'll go with Kanan, because I have something in mind that I want to show later, so Kanan works with this. Okay, so after you pick your leader, you're going to pick a base, and if you don't already know, most of the common bases, if you scroll down here, you'll get your vanilla bases. Most of these have 30 HP. There are other bases that will have abilities, like an Epic Action, which is a once per game ability, and that will give you different HP values along with some other sort of an effect. For this, let's go with, I guess, a green. I'm just gonna go with a green. Oh no, let's go with the green base from Lawless Time. So the 27 HP common base, that'll give us an epic action to play something out of aspect once per game. I can't make this. Can I make this bigger in the video? Sort of. Will this work? Yeah, okay, so here's an image of the bases. I'm sorry if you guys, if people are, already familiar with this part of the video is probably not for you. But anyway, yeah, so with these new bases, you can play a card from your hand ignoring one of its blue, green, red, or yellow aspect penalties. That's going to let us play things that normally we wouldn't be able to play. I'm going to assume that if you're watching this, you at least already know how the aspects and stuff work. If they don't, I guess I'll try to have a basic how to play video at some point in the future. Anyway, all right, so the first thing I do is, once we get to this screen, again, it should be filtered to limit to legal, which it is. Right now, it's going to be showing everything that matches the aspects of your leader and base. So we're going to be seeing green, blue, and white cards. The first thing that I do is just filter to ground units. Most decks, and I do want to put in a disclaimer with like a little asterisk, that everything I am going to say from this point to the end of the video can be preceded with the phrase "in general," because there are definitely decks that do not fall into like the standard decision making that I'm going to be showing you in this video. For example, a hyper aggressive deck might run, no units higher than a certain resource cost, or a hard control deck might not run very many units at all. So I'm going to be building kind of a mid-range, all-around, generally decent deck. I don't expect this deck to be like top-tier competitive. Doesn't matter. Again, outside the scope of this video, I'm just showing you how I do it. Anyway, with that being said, first thing I do is I go to ground, and I literally am just going to scroll through all of the cards that show up, and if I see a card that I think I might want to include, I throw 3 copies of it into the deck. So, all right, Han Solo, Hibernation Sick, one of the best 2-drops in the game. It doesn't really have any synergy, so Kanan's ability, give a shield token to a creature or specter unit, and then when he flips, he is a 3/6 shielded. While you control another creature or specter unit, he gets +2/+2. So Kanan's whole deal is that he synergizes with creatures and specters. So with that in mind, we're going to want to try to include creatures and specters in the deck. All right, so we're going to keep that in mind as we do this. That being said, Han Solo, neither a creature nor a specter, but he's very good. So is he going to make the deck? I don't know, but I'm considering him. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add 3 copies of him to the deck. And I'm just going to keep going. We're going to keep going after that. Let's see. Owen Lars, possibly, probably not. R2, Refugee of the Past, Scarif Lieutenant, Senarization. Like, Scarif Lieutenant, I don't have a lot of rebels yet, but a lot of the specters are rebels. So maybe. So, maybe this is something that ends up making the deck. If I end up having a lot of rebel units, maybe we want a 1-cost 2/1 that can give experience tokens to other rebels. So I'm just going to put 3 in the deck for now. And I don't care at all what my card total comes to. Bodhi Rook, he's a rebel. He's a good 2-drop. Let's throw 3 of them in the deck. So I'm looking to see, are there any creatures or any specters at 2? Gifted Urchin, Gonk Power Droid, meh. Gunji's a 2-cost 2/5. He's not a rebel, but you know what? We're going to put him in the deck because he's got really solid stats. Here we do have a rebel and a specter. Hera, she's not great, but you know what? Maybe she's good enough. Let's throw her in the deck. And yeah, we might end up with like 100 cards in the deck after this, But this is how it goes. Leppy Lookout, not Rebel or Spectre, but 3-1 shielded, pretty good. Throw it in the deck. Lothwolf. Okay, so here we go. We have our first creature, 2-cost 3/3 Sentinel. That's pretty good in the Kanan deck, so we'll throw him in. Mina, also a really solid 2-drop. Night Sister Warrior, I do like, but we've already got, what, 24 cards, and we're on the first page. So I do think Night Sister Warrior would end up getting cut, so I'm not going to bother putting her in, even though I am kind of contradicting what I just said. Anyway, all right, keep going. And this is, like I said, this is basically just how I do it. All right, now we're in the 3 costs. I'm looking around again. Cinta, she's a rebel. Can't give her a shield token with Kanan's ability. That would be really disgusting if you could throw a shield token on her. But who knows? If we have rebel synergy, that might work out. Okay, so here we go. Ezra, another really good synergy piece with Kanan. Gives an experience token to a creature or specter. Definitely throw him in there. I know we got some new specters. I'm looking for the new Ezra is going to be a 4-cost unit. All right, Lots Razi, pretty good. Masasi Group Marines, maybe. Obi-Wan's a good Sentinel. Temporary Sentinel, anyway. And this is it. I just go through, and anytime I see a card that I'm like, you know what, maybe I want that in my deck, I go ahead and add it to the deck. Captain Typho, really good. New Chewbacca, not as good as I was hoping, or I'd hoped for. Cheer-It, we're not a Force deck, so that doesn't really quite work. Doom is really good. Ooh, I didn't even think about this until now. So interestingly enough, Doom, ooh, did I accidentally stumble upon something that I might actually want to try? So Doom is double blue, which normally in a Kanan green deck you would have to pay 6 resources for because you're not running double blue. But with the Aldani Garrison, we could actually use the base's epic action to ignore that 1 aspect penalty and play Doom for 4. Let's try it. There we go. We found our angle for the deck, if you will. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be trying to use maybe our base's epic action to get Doom out on curve in a non-mono blue deck. I don't know if that's going to be any good, but that's kind of the point of this. We're going to figure it out as we go. Chewbacca's kind of broken. We haven't gotten any vehicles in our deck yet, but if we do, we'll definitely want a Chewbacca pilot. All right, so Lando's a pretty good Sentinel. Queen Amidala's pretty good, and already we have way too many units. But again, at this point in the deck build, I don't care. Anakin's pretty good. Captain Rex is pretty good. Kelleran Beck is pretty good. Mon Mothma, yeah, not as good as I would hope. New Obi-Wan, maybe. Okay, so like if it's a card that like I really don't think is gonna make the final cut, but maybe in a weird world it could, I'll add like 1 or 2 to the deck as just kind of like a reminder. Because I'll show you the way this is going to work is we're going to do this for all of the different card categories. Like Rey could be a good sideboard card against a control deck, so we'll put 1 in the deck for now. Sarlacc is a creature, but it's just too slow. Bo-Katan, great closer. Okay, so then just to make sure I didn't miss anything important, what we're going to do after that is we're going to go into traits here, and I want to filter. Let's filter for creatures. So I can choose creature, and here are all of the creatures that came up in that list. So we can look through and see, oh, maybe I really wanted the Mythosaur, or maybe I really wanted Ogdo Bogdo, and ended up not putting them in. What's interesting, though, now, again, with this base, is let's go over to Out of Aspect and see, are there any creatures from a different color that we might have wanted to put in? Now we do have to make sure they can't be villainy, so they can't be black, but we could do like a Wampa, or we could do Corellian Hounds. Honestly, I don't see anything great here. The Milodon Rider is interesting. 6 cost, 5/6 ambush, but if our game plan is to use the base's epic action to play Doom early, then maybe that's not the best thing to be looking for. Okay, so instead of creatures, let's do the same thing for specters. Let's see if we missed any important specters. All right, on the ground, we didn't. We got all of them. What about out of aspect? So we're going to get a couple here. So I do kind of like Sabine. I do really like Kanan, and I do really like Zeb. Callus, not really worth burning our base's action on that. I also wouldn't say either of the choppers are probably worth it, so there we go. All right. So now that we did that, take a look at our deck. We've already got 78 cards, and we've only looked at ground units. All right, so this is a lot. We're not going to be keeping all of these, but this is my process. All right, let's unfilter for ground. Let's go over to space. Make sure we're on the right colors. We have no filters for traits, and we're going to do the same thing. I don't imagine we're going to have a lot of space units because, again, Doom... oh, okay, I guess we can mention this. For some reason, it might just be the browser that I'm using, but whenever I load up a new deck, this portion of the screen here on the left is not interactive until you save the deck and, like, refresh the page. So the deck will always have a randomly generated name. My naming convention is the current set, so Lawless Time, the name of the leader, so Kanan, and then the color of the base, so green. And because I'm using the 27 HP Epic Action base, I usually just put it a 27 in parentheses as a reminder to myself that that's the base. We're going to click Save. And now this deck is saved. It's obviously not in a very playable state, but it is at least saved to my profile, and now this is interactive again. So I can actually hover over these, see what the cards are. I can click on these to manipulate, you know, how many copies are in the deck. You also do want to make it unlisted for reasons that I'm not going to talk about in this video, but I think many of you know why. I'm going to save that again. Okay, but let's continue on now with space. So Doom at the end of the phase, or at the when the regroup phase starts, gives experience tokens to other friendly non-vehicle units. So with that in mind, we do want to go a little light on vehicles. That doesn't mean we want to ignore them completely. But we do want to focus more on the non-vehicles, since that's kind of like the aim of our deck. Now, there are non-vehicle space units. We do have Minok here. However, Minok as a 2-cost 2/3 space unit with Overwhelm is not great and not worth the card slot in the deck, in my opinion. Phantom, though, is a Spectre. I don't think that's worth playing in a deck other than Hera, because Hera wants you want multiple units in play for her ability. So I don't think that Phantom is great in a Kanan deck, but it is interesting to note that it's Spectre. So things that I'm thinking about. So since we are going to be going light on vehicles, I am thinking of Sentinels. So we kind of want stuff to slow down aggressive space decks, which can be quite challenging to do if you don't have Space Sentinels. Blue Leader also kind of helps. Blue Leader is just a fantastic green-white unit with the ability to be a 3-cost 3/3 in space or a 5-cost 5/5 on the ground with ambush in either case. So we are going to put 3 Blue Leader in. Defense Fleet X-Wing is Concord Dawn Interceptors at home. Eager Escort Fighter could also be used to help fight against aggressive space decks. It's kind of just like a 3-cost deal 4 damage to a space unit. We'll put this in maybe as like a sideboard option, so that's what we'll do. We'll put 2 of these in there just to have them in there. Millennium Falcon, like if we were going the pilot route, this would be really good. Here's another Space Sentinel, but like Space Sentinels, their stat lines are just really not always great. Sabine's Masterpiece is a Spectre, and we are going to be playing some out of aspect stuff, so maybe we'll put 2 Sabine's Masterpieces in here. It's kind of slow, not a huge fan. I mean, when it can pop off, it really pops off, but anyway, this is not a video of like how to evaluate cards. That video will be coming eventually. So Consular's Cruiser is not a bad option. I'm looking for that 6-cost 6/6 A Graceful Purgle. Ooh, Graceful Purgle might actually be nasty in this deck. Huh, okay, let's try that. Normally, this card is not great. Even though it's got a big booty with 7 HP for 5, the 2 power really hurts this card because it's going to slow your opponent down, but it's not going to really deal with any of their units because it's not strong enough to kill them back. But with Doom, if Doom starts throwing experience tokens on this thing, then that gets a little crazy. So we'll give it a shot. We'll see how it goes. A lot of deck building in TCGs is experimenting. It's not easy to intuit if something is good or not until you actually try it. So we're just gonna throw this stuff in here. Okay, the Ghost though has some really serious synergy with what we're doing here. So 5 cost 5/6. Each other friendly Spectre unit gains this unit's keywords, and while this unit is upgraded, it gains Sentinel. So that's really disgusting because that can pass Sentinel on to all of our other Spectres, even the ground units. So we will probably want that in the deck. Excuse me. So we should be coming up here. This is another space unit that's not a vehicle, but it's just a vanilla unit. Okay, Jade Squadron Patrol is kind of like the, I'm going to shut down the space aggression. So we'll put 3 of those in there for now. And Grappling Guardian, defeat a space unit with 6 or less remaining HP. That's kind of disgusting that it can hit leaders. But I don't know right now that we want it. But you know what? I'll follow what I said before. We'll put 2 of those in there. I expect to cut this, but we'll put it in there just as a reminder. And then I think that might be it. I mean, Purgle King is kind of ridiculous, but it's really slow. And we're not ramping at all in this deck, at least not yet. Excuse me. Okay. We'll do the same thing that we did before. Let's filter for creatures. Yep, the Minoc, the Hyperspace Wayfarer, Purgle King, perfect. Let's filter for Spectres. I don't think... oh shoot, we should look at creatures in other colors. I don't think there are any... No, there's no space creatures in other colors. Let's look at Spectres. Alright, so yep, the Phantom, the other Phantom, which... I don't think this one's worth it. These 2, definitely worth considering anyway, and there's not going to be any Spectres. Oh, the new Ghost. Huh. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be worth using our base's epic action to cheat this into play out of aspect, and it's definitely not worth paying 8 resources for. So, interesting that it's here, not worth considering, in my opinion. Okay. Then, I usually go to upgrades next, even though I kind of prioritize units, and then events, and then upgrades. And because I prioritize them in that order, I like to look at upgrades before events, just because there's usually not a whole lot that I'm happy to choose. Although in this case, there might be. So, worth noting... we did put Cinta in here, who gains Sentinel when she's upgraded. So, if we have something like Nimble Prowess, we could throw Nimble Prowess on Cinta, exhaust a unit, and now she becomes a 4/6 Sentinel. It's not bad. We'll throw that in there just so it's in there. Like Armor of Fortune. It's not terrible. The reason I don't really I'm not really high on upgrades compared to units and events. I mean, you want the majority of your deck to be units because units is, again, asterisk, in general, how you win the game. And upgrades are just kind of like high risk, high reward. If you put upgrades on a unit that really, and your opponent has removal, that allows your opponent an easy way to 2-for-1 you. In other words, deal with 2 of your cards with only 1 of their own. And because of that, upgrades are they're just very risky. Now we are going to be running, we have a decent chunk of force units, like our leader is a force unit, Ezra's force unit, Kanan's a force unit. What else do we have? Anakin, if we keep him, Kelleran back, Obi-Wan, the Obi-Wan down here. Gunji is a force unit. So If we decide that I'm going to throw 2 constructed lightsabers in here because putting a constructed lightsaber on our leader is also really strong. So that might be something that we consider. Other than that, Figure of Unity's not terrible. We'll put 2 in just for now. I don't really expect to keep it, but we'll see. Mastery is also kind of cool. Paying 3 for +3/+3 on something, but I mean, that's also, the constructed lightsaber is kind of better. So probably not. Fulcrum is just way too expensive in my opinion. And I'm not even going to bother looking at out of aspect upgrades because we're not going to waste our base's epic action to play an upgrade. Okay, so now let's go over to events. And we're playing blue-green. I'm kind of looking for removal and maybe healing. And maybe buffing. Like pump or, you know, give experience tokens or something. Obviously, if you're newer to the game, like, looking through the card list, you're not going to be as quick at it as I am, like, because I've seen a lot of these cards hundreds, if not thousands of times by now, so I, like, know almost immediately whether a card is worth considering or not. As a newer player, you obviously don't have that ability, and that's fine. Just add it to the deck. Add it to the deck. It's going to be difficult to filter it down, because look at this. We're right now we're at 102 cards. So we already have twice as many cards as we're ideally aiming for in our deck. We're aiming for 50 cards. So we're going to have to cut a lot. But this is just kind of like a first pass through the available options. Now, I'm not adding this to the deck, but Calm in the Storm I think is pretty amazing with Cinta. Play Cinta. 3/5 Sentinel. Next round, you play Calm in the Storm for 2. You exhaust her, but she gets a shield and 2 experience tokens, so she now becomes a 5/7 shielded Sentinel. I think there's something there, honestly, but we're not doing that in this deck. Yeah, I mean, so, like, there's just so many events that, in my opinion, are not worth... I mean, Charge with Corruption could be, depending on how much green we have. Because we're not going to have... I mean, we're playing blue, so we're going to have removal options. Like, Knowledge and Defense, pretty solid. Shrink a unit, draw a card. It's pretty solid. Whirlwind of Power, we have a lot of Force units. Could give -3/-3. Kind of like Knowledge and Defense better. Grassroots Resistance has been surprisingly good post-rotation. Paying 4 to deal 3 damage is... It's not great, but you're also getting 3 damage healed from your base. So, like, it's not bad. We'll put that in there. Haymaker seems really good in this deck, so give an experience token to a friendly unit, then deal damage equal to its power to an enemy unit in the same arena. We'll put 2 of that in there for now. Protect the Pod could be good. If the whole, like, Doom... well, I mean, maybe that's good. I don't know. Throw it in there, see what happens. Shatterpoint is great, but we're not Force. Tree Remembers is a really good sideboard card against pilot leaders. Ooh, Nothing Left to Fear is actually kind of busted, so we'll put that in. I like Out the Airlock. I'm not going to put it in this, because we've already got so many cards to cut, and I know this wouldn't make it, but paying 5 to give a unit -5/-5, which can also target leaders, I think this is not a bad removal option. But I also want Lost and Forgotten. So yeah, Lost and Forgotten, 6 cost, defeat a non-leader unit, doesn't matter what it is, and heal damage, 3 damage from your base. That's worth at least 2 copies of. And I mean, we could do 2 Hyperspace Disaster to tech against space decks, but we'd have to survive to turn 7 or 7 resources to play it. Sure, we'll put 2 in there just so we can throw them in the sideboard potentially. Okay, and I'm not looking at the out of aspect stuff for events either. All right, and there we go. So that's my first pass through the deck. We have way too many cards. 117 cards. Shout out to my boy Master Chief. Okay. So, next guideline is turn 1 plays. Actually, before we even get there, I wanted to include something that I can't... All right, I'm going to do something. I'm going to add a unit to this deck that really doesn't belong in the deck, just temporarily. I'm going to add in the Outer Rim Constable. Here we go. I'll explain why here in a second. Okay. So, in a 50 card deck, ideally, you want around 12 turn 1 plays. These are things that you feel good playing on turn 1. Why is that? In a 50 card deck, if you have 12 cards that you feel good playing on turn 1, that gives you roughly, I want to say 96, 97-ish% chance of getting at least one of them in either your opening hand or your mulligan. All right, because when you start the game, you draw 6 cards. You have the option of mulliganing those cards, so you shuffle all 6 of them back into your deck, and then you draw another 6. If you do that, you have to keep the second hand. Now, if you have 12 cards that you feel good playing on turn 1, like I said, in a 50-card deck, 96 to 97% chance of getting one of them in one of those 2 opening hands. Now, you have to keep in mind, if you have more than that in your deck, so like if you're running the base Data Vault, for example, which is the 33 HP base that has the text, your minimum deck size is increased by 10 cards, now you have a 60-card deck. You need to have more than 12 in order to keep that math. That doesn't mean, again, that not every deck is going to have 12 turn 1 plays, but that's what you should be aiming for, and that's kind of like the baseline. All right, so if you want to gamble on not having something to play turn 1, maybe you go with a little bit less. If you're playing a more aggressive deck and you really need to have something to play on turn 1, maybe you go a little bit more. Maybe you go like 13 or 14. But that's something to keep in mind. So with that in mind, well, before we move on to what we actually have, so let's talk about the reason I say something that you feel good playing on turn 1 is important. It's not necessarily 12 2-drops. Why do I say that? Outer Rim Constable. Outer Rim Constable is a 2-cost unit. But Outer Rim Constable has a when played, you may defeat an upgrade. Very rarely are you ever going to get value out of that if you play Outer Rim Constable on turn 1. The only time that will ever be relevant is if your opponent plays something like a 2-cost 2/2 shielded like Director Krennic or Secretive Sage or something like that, and then you can use Outer Rim Constable to get rid of the shield token. Yes, you could do that. That is a very effective play, but that's not something that you want to count on when you're building your deck. The number of times you're going to run into that scenario is very low compared to the number of times you're not going to run into that scenario. So, in that case, or because of that, Outer Rim Constable, I would not count Outer Rim Constable as one of the 12, or in this case, 3 of the 12 turn 1 plays in my deck, despite the fact that he costs 2. Because this is not something I plan on playing turn 1. So, I'm going to remove him from the deck for now because he's out of aspect and we're not going to be using the base for that. But I wanted to make that point, that these have to be cards that you're willing to play in the first turn of a game. Now that I've beat the heck out of that point, let's look at what we actually have in the deck. So starting, I'm looking, the last 2-cost unit we have is Mina Bonteri. So we've got Mina, Lothwolf, Leppy Lookout, Hera, Gunji, Bodhi, Scarif Lieutenant, and Han Solo. Now, Han Solo and Scarif Lieutenant are 1-cost units. If you're playing a leader that has an ability that costs 1, that you can play in conjunction with a 1-cost unit, which Kanan does, then 1-cost units are fine to count as your turn 1 play, as long as you're okay using your leader's ability with it. Now, Han Solo is a 1-cost unit, but he is neither a creature nor a specter, which is the targets that Kanan needs for his abilities. So we would not be able to play Han Solo and then also use Kanan's ability turn 1. And because of that, that actually lowers Han Solo in my desire to keep him in the deck, or at least count him as a turn 1 play. Because you really want to be spending as many of your resources as you can. You want to be as resource efficient as possible. And with that in mind, that immediately... And Han Solo is really good, though. Scarif Lieutenant is not nearly as good as Han Solo, and that immediately allows me to cut Scarif Lieutenant, because I don't think that the 3-card slots, despite how many Rebels we might have, are going to make that worth it. So let's look at the 2s. Mina, she's pretty solid 2-drop. She gets you restore. She lets you draw a card when she dies. Lothwolf is also pretty good, because especially since Kanan can buff him. Leppy Lookout is such a solid turn 1 play. You know, I think Leppy Lookout might be better than Han Solo in this particular deck because we don't have any synergies with Rebels or Underworld. Yeah, see, this is debatable, and somebody in the comments might yell at me. I kind of like Leppy Lookout better just because it starts off as a 3-1 shielded. Han Solo could get better in the long run if he manages to survive, but I think I'd just rather have something solid turn 1, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut Han Solo. Bodhi's fine, Gunji's fine. Hera, again, we're going to be going a little light on vehicles. And so even though Hera is Spectre, the strength of this Hera unit is not playing her as a 2-cost 2/3 restore 1. The strength of her is playing her as a pilot on a vehicle. And because we're light on vehicles, I don't think that lets her make the cut. So we're going to cut her now. And that leaves us with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we're still over. We don't have any 2-cost space units to worry about. So we can still cut one of these. And for me, it's either Bodhi or the Leppy Lookout. I'm going to cut Bodhi. I want to keep the Leppy because I think the Leppy is actually kind of ridiculous. If we can get Doom to stick on the board and then have Doom start buffing up a Leppy Lookout, that could get out of hand, especially with the shield token. And I do like Gunji as a turn 1 option because I am planning on keeping the constructed lightsabers, and that can get kind of ridiculous also. Okay, so now that we've got our 12 turn 1 plays, we're moving on to turn 3. And the guidelines for like how many cards to have at the different breakpoints or the different resource numbers is kind of, you know, kind of debatable. I like to have anywhere from like 4 to 6, maybe 7, like 3s and 4s. So we have to cut quite a few here. Now, Sabine, I like Sabine. She's upgrade hate and ambush, but she is out of aspect, and we've got other things that we want to spend our basis epic action on. So I'm going to reduce her count to at least 2 for now. Obi-Wan is a Sentinel. We do have Force units, so he's pretty good. We'll leave him at 3. Latarazi, I like her. She's strong. She doesn't have any synergies with our deck, though. Ezra does have synergies. Cinta, do we have things that can upgrade Cinta other than Doom? I mean, Doom actually makes her... that's kind of a gross combo, too. That just, like, letting Doom throw an experience token on her. I mean, Haymaker does, too. Yeah, that's tough. Alright, I'm going to cut Latarazi. I don't think we have room for her. I'm going to cut Cinta down to 2 for now, because we already have a 3-cost 3/5 Sentinel. I mean, Cinta can be kind of disgusting, but Obi-Wan is just better when played than Cinta, so she might get cut. Ezra, just a 3-cost 3/5 Spectre that will buff creatures and Spectres. Really good. Alright. Then going on to 4s. Well, okay, we also have 3-cost space units. The Eager Escort Fighter, that's a sideboard card to counter space decks. We're going to move that down to sideboard. Blue Leader is just too good of a card to cut, so that stays. Sabine's Masterpiece, it has the Spectre synergy, so we'll leave it at 2 for now, but we're probably going to have to cut Cinta or maybe even the Sabines. We'll see. Going on to 4, Captain Typho is just incredible. 4-cost 4/5 Sentinel. Doom is like what we're basing this deck on, so we need to leave him at 4. This Ezra, again, this Kanan's really good, but we're planning on using Doom's ability to, using our base ability to cheat out Doom, so we're going to cut him down to 3. This Ezra, or cut him down to 2. We're also going to cut this Ezra down to 2. I like to run a lot of 2-ofs in my decks. I know some people hate it, but this is kind of like my second pass through the deck. Things that we might not want, I'm reducing to 2 for now. We're going to go through, then we'll take a look at the total when we're done. Chewbacca, we don't have enough vehicles to make his piloting ability worth it. You could sideboard. I mean, maybe we'll cut him down to 2, and then we'll sideboard him for, like, anti-control. Queen Amidala, we can go to 2. Lando is fine. Tamarin is kind of like credit hate. We'll take him down to 2 and put him in sideboard. Zeb is so good, but 2. Anakin. I feel like Zeb is just better than Anakin. I mean, obviously Anakin fits certain roles better than Zeb, but even if we pay 7 for Zeb, we're gonna have a blue unit in play, or I'm sorry, a green unit in play to deal 5 with, which is better than Anakin's -3/-3. But Anakin can hit space units. Zeb can only do ground units. Alright, we'll cut both of those to 2 for now. But one of these is probably going to get cut. I have a feeling Queen Amidala is also going to get cut. Rex. Alright, once we get into like the 6 cost area, it starts getting to the point where like maybe running 2 copies of something is fine. So Obi-Wan, he's not going to make the cut. Rey, sideboard option. I like having 1 Bo-Katan as like a top end. 3 Kellerans is fine. Maybe only 2 Rex. Okay, and then let's go down the space units. Graceful Purgle, I don't think we need 3 of those. The Ghost, I do like having 3 of. Jade Squadron is, again, kind of sideboard for space. We might actually not even need that with Graceful Purgle. Yeah, let's try that. Let's cut that out completely. Grappling Guardian, I don't really like this. We'll leave it just to see what we have, but I imagine this is probably getting cut. For removal options, Nothing Left to Fear can go down to 2. That can go to 2. This can... We might actually need Hyperspace Disaster with all the Space Sentinels and stuff that we're trying to pack into this. We'll go to 1. Tree Remembers as sideboard for Space Leaders. Protect the Pods, fine. Haymaker's fine. Grassroots Resistance can probably get cut. Okay. So we've got 9 in our sideboard. Figure of Unity, I'm going down to 1 on. I could probably cut that too. Nimble Prowess can get cut if we need the space, which we're going to need. Okay, let's scroll up and take a look. All right, we're at 73. It could be worse. We still have to cut 23 cards, which is not going to be easy because I like all of these now. But that's kind of how this goes. Okay, we're kind of trying to stall. Well, Queen Amidala actually does synergize with Doom. That's whack, because Doom will put experience on her and the spy tokens. So that actually, if this ends up being a combo that works out, I might actually want to go back up to 3 with her. And we can go down, we can cut Lando, because we've got enough other Sentinels in the deck. I'm going to throw Cinta in the sideboard for now. I'm also okay during deck building on going over 10 cards in the sideboard, because then that gives us something else to choose what we can cut. Let's cut the Sabines. Zeb, Anakin. I'm going to cut the Anakins. And maybe we go down to 2. Let's cut the Grappling. We'll put the Grappling Guardians in sideboard. Let's go down to 2 Ghosts, just because they're a little expensive. Well, see, okay, maybe we don't even need Graceful Purgle, because we've got the Ghost. Doom won't buff it like he would buff Graceful Purgle, but we can throw shield tokens on it with Kanan. And maybe even Nimble Prowess. I'm going to put Graceful Purgles in sideboard, because we've got this. We'll bump that back up to 3. Okay, Haymaker actually is kind of disgusting, because we can use that to give the Ghost experience tokens, which then upgrades it and gives it Sentinel. That's crazy. Protect the Pod can go if we're getting rid of all the Purgles. Hyperspace Disaster we can throw in the sideboard. I kind of like Nimble Prowess more now that we're looking at this kind of stuff. And yeah, all right, what does that bring us to? All right, so we're already down to 58. So we're not doing bad. We can still cut a few things. Maybe we do go back down to 2 Queen Amidalas. Maybe we don't care so much about having... the next thing I look at is the curve. So right now we've got a lot of 4-cost units. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've got more 4s than we have 3s. Oh, no, we don't. We have Blue Leader. And Sabine's Masterpiece. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what I would cut next. This is where it gets tough. When it gets down to below 60 cards is when I start to struggle. And this, honestly, this is where the experimentation starts to become more important. So at this point, it's like, all right, just make a decision. Let's cut things from our sideboard, get this back down to 10. We probably don't need the Chewbacca's. We probably don't need the Graceful Purgles. Definitely don't need the Grappling Guardians. All right, so now we got the sideboard back down to 10. And again, also the sideboard, it's kind of hard to tell what belongs in the sideboard until the meta really evolves and kind of develops. But for now, these are just cards that, like, all right, we know we want this against Space Aggro. We know we want this against a control deck. We know we want Tamarin against credit decks. So, like, that's kind of where my head is with that. All right, let's go back down to 2 of the Ghost. Maybe we only need 2 Blue Leaders since we don't have the Spectre or Creature or Rebel synergy with that. Maybe we don't need 3 Kellerins. Maybe we could even throw the Bo-Katan in the sideboard, but that's kind of blasphemous. Maybe we don't need... We don't need 3 Obi-Wans? Yeah, this is tough. And honestly, I might just go into it with this and see, like, play some practice games with this and see what you end up resourcing the most, and that will give you an idea of what else you could cut. It's like, all right, let's get rid of Figure of Unity, and we're down to 54. I would just cut like two of the cards, like maybe the Ezra, like maybe we don't need Ezra, and maybe we don't need Rex. So, like, if we cut them, there we go. Now we have 50 cards. We'd still have to cut 4 from our sideboard. So maybe with all the space stuff we have, maybe we don't need the Eager Escort Fighters. Maybe we decide we don't care about credit hate and we cut Tamarin or something like that. Or maybe we don't want Cinta because we have so many Sentinels already. And there we go. We save our deck. And deck image. And there it is. My video is a little bit longer than I was expecting it to be, and this is why I usually write a script for my videos and I don't just wing it. But yeah, this whole, like, use the base to cheat Doom into play on 4 and have him buff up a bunch of stuff, it's probably not competitive, but it seems pretty fun to me, so I'm gonna actually take this and run with it for at least a little bit and see how it goes. But like I said, the whole point of this video, not to build a competitive tier deck. It was just to show you guys who are new to the game my technique, my strategy for how I build a deck. And that's kind of it. It's just go through the whole list of cards, add everything that you are even considering putting in the deck, into the deck, go as high as you want in card count, and then go through afterwards and remove things that you no longer think deserve a slot. Yeah. Anyway, and then since you registered on SWUDB, now this deck is here, and you can tweak it, edit it, share it, do whatever you want with it. Import it to melee.gg whenever you go playing a planetary qualifier or something like that. Yeah, that's it. Let me know in the comments how you guys do your own deck building. Let me know what you absolutely hated about my strategy. And yeah, anything that you might find helpful to share with new players who are watching this video, who are just getting into Star Wars Unlimited for the first time. Lots of other educational stuff coming in the future. Also, if you haven't already seen it, I do have a website called SWUniversity.net. A link to that will be in the video description. It is a website where you can test your knowledge of Star Wars Unlimited rules and cards. So if you are just learning the game and you want to maybe learn about some more obscure card interactions, you'll be able to find some on there. And yeah, please leave a like and a comment. Stay tuned for more Star Wars Unlimited content in the future. Thank you for watching. Mobius1 here. I'll see you in the next one.